If I may have your attention, please. At this time, we're going to begin the graveside services here today for Mr. Ronald M. Portugal. As we begin the service, I would ask if any of you may have a cell phone or any other noise-making device, please turn them off at this time. Officiating the service today is Rabbi Jeffrey Weil from Ezra Habanim, the Niles Township Jewish Congregation in Skokie. And the rabbi will begin the service assisting the family in the ancient tradition of Kriya. If I could ask the family members wearing ribbons to please stand together at this time.
Thank you, Bill. In the Bible, when something calamitous would happen or something sad, our biblical forebears would tear their garments, in a sense, exposing their vulnerable and wounded and mourning hearts. And so that is what our Kriya means tearing, and we call these Kriya ribbons, and this ritual is the Kriya ritual. That is what that is all about. And the blessing that you'll recite after me in just a moment acknowledges God as the Dayan Ha'emet, the judge of truth, or the true judge. So for those who are wearing the Kriya ribbon, the official halachic mourners, please recite this blessing after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Dayan ha'emet. We say Amen. So now please tear, you could either tear up or to the side. For the children, for Cary and Lauren, the ribbon is over their hearts, as is appropriate for the children of the deceased, and for the other mourners, it is on the right side of their chests. And you may be seated. Adonai, ma Adam v'teda ehu, ben enosh v'tichashvehu. Adam lehevel dama, yamav kitzel over, baboki yatzitz v'chalaf la'erev yimalel v'yavesh. Tashev enosh adaka v'tomer, shuvu v'nei Adam. These are the words of the psalmist saying, Adonai, eternal God, what are we that you have regard for us, and what are we that you would even be mindful of us? We're all of us but a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning it shoots up and is renewed, and in the evening of all of our lives, it fades and withers. But God, you cause all of us to return unto dust, saying, Shuvu b'nei Adam, return, O mortal ones. Would that we were wise, and would that we understood whither we go from here. For when we die, we carry nothing with us, not our riches, not our glory. But God, you say, Shmor tam u'rei yashar, mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. Those are the ones who shall find shalom, who shall find peace in the end. Friends, we gather today to remember one and say farewell to one who was wholehearted and upright, and he was loving and carefree and playful, Ronald Portugal, and he will be missed. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'atzat rasha'im u'v'derech chata'im lo amad u'v'moshav leitzim lo yashav ki im b'torat Adonai chevtzo u'v'torato yehageh yomam v'layla. This is the first psalm. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather the teaching of the eternal God is their delight, and they abide in that tradition day and night. And Ron Portugal was one who loved Jewish tradition. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in season. Its foliage never fades, its fruit always flourishes. You'll find in your handouts the 23rd Psalm, which we'll read together on the inside panel. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the third chapter of Ecclesiastes, or in Hebrew Kohelet, we're presented with this idea that everything follows its own course, that there is a time and a purpose for everything that happens. Sometimes in life challenges that notion, like, was this really a time for this to happen or that to happen? But our tradition nudges us in such a direction that there is a time for everything. L'kol zman ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim, et laledet ve'et lamut, et lata'at ve'et la'kor natua, et lifrot ve'et livnot, et livkot ve'et lischok, et svod ve'et rakod. For everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time when we must refrain from our embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, and a time for silence and a time for speaking. And so this is an appropriate time for speaking words in memory of tribute of Ron Portugal. Our Talmud is full of many wonderful and continuingly meaningful and relevant sayings and wisdom. And the sage Ben Zoma, which means son of Zoma, asked a series of questions. And one of those questions is, Ezehu Ashir? Who is happy? And the word Ashir, happy, also means wealthy. And Ben Zoma answered his own question. Who is it who's the wealthy person or the happy person? And Ben Zoma answered that question. The happy person or the wealthy person is Hasavea Bichalko. It is the one who is satisfied with his portion or with his lots, what he has, what he possesses. It's good wisdom. It's relevant and meaningful wisdom. Because in this world of ours, with our constant strivings and our chasing and our coveting and our yearnings, Ben Zoma's wisdom rings true. For most of us are at least a little too concerned, and perhaps a lot too concerned, with amassing a big chelek, a big portion, a lot. And so there's something to be said and something to learn from those who are satisfied with a more modest lot, with a more humble portion. Ron Portugal was not overly concerned with all that striving and coveting and chasing. Elsewhere in Ecclesiastes, it's called hevel, which means like futility or vanity. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. That's what all that stuff actually is. Ron was not concerned with that. He was satisfied with his chelek, his portion. He was happy with the simplest things, whether it was enjoying time with his children and grandchildren and being that fun, playful father and grandfather, or maybe chatting up someone he did not really know very well. He was good at that and happy to do that. Maybe going on simple car vacations with his wife and children in years past, just staying in the Midwest. And later on, those Mayflower bus tours to obscure places with Anita, or maybe just greeting folks at the Botanic Gardens, or being a saint for the theater. Simple things. None of this demands an ambitious spirit or like a hungry heart. These are simple things. It just required a happy, carefree spirit and a desire to enjoy one's years in the best and simplest ways. And with that spirit and with that attitude, Ron Portugal kept himself satisfied throughout his over 9 decades of life. He was the son of George and Edith, oldest brother to Gerald, Mitch, and Glenn. Despite the 18 years of difference from oldest to youngest, the brothers remained very close over the years to each other and to their respective families. Ron grew up in Albany Park. George, your dad was, I understand, somewhat adventurous. He enjoyed challenges. He moved the family to open spaces, ultimately in Morton Grove, which is a different kind of town than it is now. George boarded horses, and there were often dogs at home. Ron worked at a young age. In his teenage years, he was working. He worked at the diner, the Shore Kitchen, family business. He was an order picker at Shore Brothers, zipping around the warehouse on roller skates. And of course, he graduated from high school from Von Steuben and went on to study at Wright College for a couple of years. He later worked as a postal repairman for Pitney Bowes. Ron was a handsome man. Just note the picture on the handouts. And one day, as a handsome young man, he attended a mixer. It was auspiciously February 14th. And so it's a mixer for young Jews to mix with each other. And he saw there a woman a few years younger than he. They knew each other vaguely, but now this young woman, Anita, was especially taken with Ron. First off, he was handsome, number one. Number two, he owned a very cool two-toned 1957 Oldsmobile, light blue and dark blue. We weren't sure what the model was exactly. I don't know if you guys... Oh, it's in your speech. Okay, I'll go no further. So no wonder, as Anita recalls, the girls liked him. You know, he had the looks, he had that car, but he liked her, and she liked him, and so they began dating. Anita, an only child, appreciated, among other things, Ron's large, close family. After several months of dating, Edith, Ron's mom, said, in effect, I'm not quoting, just I'm paraphrasing, to her oldest son, basically, what's going on, son? What are you waiting for? She's smart, she's well educated, a Northwestern grad, she's a nice Jewish girl. What are you waiting for? Ron acknowledged his mother's wisdom, and before long asked Anita to marry, and marry they did at the Sovereign Hotel. They first lived in Evanston on Howard Street, I think you said 2117 Howard, and then in Skokie, and they finally settled in 1967 in Niles. By that time, they were a family of 4, Ron, Anita, Cary, and Lauren. As a dad, Ron Portugal was indeed carefree, fun. He liked to be silly. Anita was the more business-like parent. Ron, not so business-like, but in that way they complemented each other. And that complementing those differing personalities benefited both of them individually and the family as a whole. Ron held a variety of jobs over the years, but one gig was consistent. He worked part-time for over 20 years at Marshall Fields, the men's department at Marshall Fields in Old Orchard. And I think selling, being on the floor there made sense for this easygoing man who enjoyed chatting, kibitzing, and so on. He was also a patient person, and that patience was probably also an asset in his work. Yes, at home, Anita ruled the roost, as they say, but it was really Ron who took initiative in at least one very important way. He enthusiastically led and motivated the family's Jewish involvements. The family became involved in a couple of congregations, ultimately in the one that I serve now. Now it's Ezra Habanim, the Niles Township Jewish Congregation. Back then it was simply Niles Township Jewish Congregation. And the famous story that Anita and Rabbi Brief, my predecessor's predecessor, told me is that Anita served Rabbi Brief his first cup of tea at the congregation. And he remembers that still, because I spoke to him about Ron, and he said that Ron was a true mensch. Ron's interest in synagogue and Jewish living, Jewish life, was one way, among others, that he expressed his lifelong desire to honor parents, your parents, his parents, who were also very involved in shul life. They were very involved in our shul's life. Ron felt strongly about Jewish tradition, about its tenets, its thinking, practice. He was truly a proud Jew and a devoted son. And yes, a wonderful and loving grandfather. There was nothing more important to him than his own family, Anita and Cary, Lauren and Chuck, and of course Matt and Allie, to whom he was grandpa, Jamie and Alex, to whom he was papo. He loved to hear what was going on in his grandchildren's lives, and he and Anita joyfully and faithfully attended all the big events, the sports games, the graduations, and much more. Ron Portugal lived a good and a long life, almost 92 years. In August, it would be 92 years. Why so long? Maybe this is because he liked to eat healthy, as Matt was saying yesterday. On the other hand, he liked his sweets. And I think that's a nice way to sum up the man. Be healthy, yes, but enjoy desserts, for sure. Enjoy life, have fun, talk to strangers, be silly, eat sweets. Be devoted to your tradition, dedicated to your loved ones. One who lives in this way will indeed be satisfied with his lot and will lack nothing at all. Zichrono livracha, may Ron Portugal's memory truly be for blessing. Amen. I'm pleased to call forward Chuck Kaufman, son-in-law, for a few remarks.
I guess it says a lot that a lot of the stories that the rabbi have already shared is encompassed in my words, but I'm going to say them anyways. How best to describe Ronald Portugal? A jovial, happy-go-lucky person. He enjoyed the many offerings of the Chicago area, whether it was volunteering at the Botanic Gardens, being a volunteer usher with the Saints, and seeing hundreds of plays, or being part of his men's club. He especially enjoyed attending meetings of his men's clubs when the speaker was locally famous or speaker had a famous family member. Ronald enjoyed a nice meal, especially when the family members were involved or one of the prominent holidays. He enjoyed seeing his family around the table and talking with one another. As the rabbi mentioned, Ron and Anita loved to travel, especially taking bus excursions where they went to famous sites or well-known houses or castle or some off the beaten place. He really enjoyed that. As the rabbi mentioned, Ronald had a real knack for getting to know a stranger. I recall Allie mentioning one time they went to pick up food at a nearby restaurant, and while waiting for the food, he seemingly knew the entire history of another person and their family just hanging out at the entrance. He was very proud of his parents, and I recall every time he went to Niles Township Jewish Congregation, he would point out the plaque of his parents for donating the kippah holder. And as the rabbi mentioned, he was very proud of the fact that the family reached out and welcomed me, Rabbi Brief, to Niles Township. Ron and Anita never missed an opportunity to see their grandkids in activities of Alex's games, Jamie's performances, including plays and cheer competitions. Ronald, you'll be greatly missed by your family and be fondly remembered for your good-natured demeanor and friendly disposition.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you. Mitch and Glenn, brothers.
Yeah, Ronald definitely had not a mean bone in his entire body. The first memories I had when we lived in Chicago, my dad had horses and moved to Morton Grove. And on the way to the stable, he saw this house and bought it, and we eventually ended up there. And Ronald and Gerald would ride the horses from the stable to our house for lunch, tie up the horses in front. Mom would make them lunch, and they'd ride back. I was too young. Glenn was 2 years old, so he probably didn't remember that. Then the early memories of when I was in high school, of course, I needed a car to go see my girlfriend, and I didn't have my driver's license even, so I would kind of borrow my dad's car once in a while, and Gerald would encourage me, yeah, go ahead. And then when I finally did ask my dad for his 57 Chevy, he said, no, I use that for business, you can't have that. So I'd go to Ronald and I'd tell him what I needed, and he said, yeah, go ahead, take it. And it was a 1958 Rocket 88 Oldsmobile, the hottest car on the road, and my friends would see that car and, oh, wow, look at that. I said, yeah, it's my brother Ronald's, he let me use it. Sometimes I took it without him knowing that he knew it, but he did love to attend parties, and talk about a party animal. He was in a different kind of party mood. He would go, have a good time, enjoy bar mitzvahs, weddings, and any other kind of birthday party, because he did love to eat food and have sweets. He was caring, helpful, older brother. Now me and Glenn move up to be next in line with our two older brothers gone, and we are truly going to miss him. He was a great guy.
As usual, I'm always the last one to speak, and so much has already been said. There's not a lot left for me to say. I don't have a lot of memories of romping around with Ronald when I was a kid. I guess the main reason is he was 18 years older than me. And when I was 6 or 7, he was married and out of the house. I'm closer in age to his son Cary than I was to him. He wasn't, I can't say that he was like a father to me being that old. He was more like a mother to me. He was the sweetest man. Never said a mean word. And be greatly missed. I do have some memories of, well, this guy already had mentioned a few of them. When I was a kid, I was probably, like you said, 2-3 years old. And I look out in the driveway, and there's this huge car sitting in the driveway. It was his 57 Rocket 88 Oldsmobile. To me, it was like a house sitting in the driveway. And he was really proud of that. He was, he was the first brother to pull up in a brand new car. And he loved it. The other thing that's I'll never forget, when I was a little kid, again, mentioned 4 years old, we had lived in a house in Morton Grove with an empty lot next door. And all of a sudden, Ronald, I'll never forget this, rides up on his horse. My dad had a stable very close by. And he came up, and I'm a little kid, I ran out. And look at this, the biggest animal I've ever seen in my life. I don't think I ever saw any of the horses before that. And with me, the dog ran out. We had a huge boxer dog. And when that dog saw that horse, it almost attacked it. And Ronald is on that horse. And I'll never forget this. That horse reared up on his hind legs. Well, I'm going to pieces here. It reminded me of the Lone Ranger at the end of the episode. And he handled that horse unbelievable. He was sweet. He was soft-spoken. I never saw him get upset with anybody. He was really just an unbelievable man. There is one thing that his claim to fame is. He never met a doggy bag that he couldn't handle. We love him, we'll miss him, and cherish him always.
Thank you, Mitch and Glenn. Those are great memories. Really greatly appreciate that. Lauren. Daughter.
My good friend, my close friend Julie's mom sent me a text this morning that was really right. He said, "Don't be sad he died, be happy that he lived." So that, I agree with that. But I wrote something and I'm going to keep it short and simple. My dad was the most good-hearted and sweet-natured man ever. He was calm and caring. He was not impressed with glitz and glamour. It just didn't matter to him. It's the small things that are most important. I remember taking an aerobics class with him at the Morton Grove Park District. Now, how many people can say they took an aerobics class with their dad? In later years, he would spend so much time with his grandchildren. And it's even the smaller things that stand out. We all went to Northbrook Court countless times for no reason. When Jamie was a toddler and was fascinated by the cake decorating at Costco, he would stand by her cart and watch it with her for at least 15 to 20 minutes so I could shop. I took Jamie and Alex to Botanic Garden many times where my folks volunteered. We rode the tram with my dad and went to the model train section where he volunteered on Mondays. And when Alex was younger, he was obsessed with trains, so that was a real treat. I'm going to close this out by saying a comment my dad once made. I'm not exactly sure what we were talking about or why or the context or the real specifics, but these are his words. I apologize ahead of time if my funeral disrupts your plans.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you. Anita, do you want it? No. Okay. Anita Portugal.
I think I know everyone here. And I know it's unusual for the grieving widow to say something, but I will do my grieving privately. I'm a very private person. And I want to thank you all, of course, for coming out here. And I hope we're going to go back to my daughter's house. And if I wish Ronald was there, because there's going to be deli tray, whatever, fruit tray, he would be first in line in the buffet line, and he would take a paper or plastic plate and fill it to the brim, honestly. He loved eating, but strangely enough, he didn't get obese. Because he did not do sports like his younger brothers, and there were two things he was proud about. His good looks. Yes, he was handsome. As you look at photos of him in his 20s, 30s, he was good looking, and that's one reason we got together. And then even later, when he was old already, around 5 years ago, he started showing his age, and unlike many people, he kept his natural, the nice way to say it is no hair dye, no tweaking, no, I want to say facelifts. He started showing his age. And I happened to notice that when we were ushering at Highland Park High School, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. And he was in one place and I was in the other. And I looked at him from the back and I said, oh, he's starting to bend over a little. He is getting old. He's starting to show age, but he never would admit it. He always, he had many friends at the time, mostly from B'nai B'rith and, the neighborhood, I don't know. And I was impressed by that. And then I said, okay, are you still in touch? He was in touch with a few friends. They all passed away. He outlived whatever friends or not relatives, but he called himself the patriarch of our extended family. And the Portugals had a long-lived family. His Aunt Rose passed away at, I want to say, 93. He had a first cousin, Libby Weingart. I'm sure she was 98 when she passed away. And they were all in decent health up till that time. And so we were blindsided that he got sick so quickly and declined so quickly. So we've had our time to mourn. I guess we'll do some more mourning. But I really wish he was here, standing in the back and not the recipient of all your condolences, because he loved, I was going to say he went to every extended relative's funeral if it was in town, at Shalom Park or Ridgelawn. That was the family, the Portugal family plot area. Ridgelawn is in Chicago around Peterson and Crawford. And some of the older, your parents are buried there in a plot. And we never, were going to be part of that. So I do, apologize that I'm not, the crying widow. I never would be. But I do hope some of you will come see, after today, will come visit me. I have, especially if you're a Portugal or Greenberg, I have I joined the JGIN, which is the Jewish Genealogical Society. I know where the name Portugal originated back in, well, never mind, it was the 18th century in Russia, and why there are so many Jews in the Belarus area with the surname, I think our surname was Portuguese, meaning Portuguese. But we weren't the only ones. And he always said, oh, we're the only Portugals in Chicago. And I said, no, I think there's others all over. There's the real Portuguese Portugals. And so he was so proud of our last name. And I got to be proud of it because people would say, oh, is that your name? Are you from Portugal? And my answer would be, I think about 500 years ago we were, until we were expelled and the family ended up in Russia, actually, Belarus area. Ron's grandma, Clara, was from the Pale of Settlement, which I researched, and it was all the Jewish diaspora. Anyway, the important thing is he kept his Jewish beliefs. And if he could, he would have gone to every minyan like his father did. So I'm just sorry that there were so many things he should have done, and we should have done earlier in our lives. And my regret is we didn't. So I would say, hoist a glass and visit everybody, and let's keep it light. And as I said, if you want any information about the background of Portugal, I'm not so sure about Greenberg, please call me. I will be sitting the rest of this week personally. And I would love to visit some of you. I'm a one-on-one person, so I would love to hear from any of you curious to find out more about our background. I think my information is accurate. Thank you all, and we hope to see you later today.
Thank you, Anita. Just the way people are reacting to the speakers, the smiles, the laughter, the chuckles, and so forth, shows what a positive influence Ron Portugal had on all of you. So it's heartwarming to see. Leidah hi reshit uftirat tachlit החיים כמסע הם, כהליכה, כצמיחה משלב לשלב. Birth is a beginning, death a destination, life a journey, a going and a growing from stage to stage. And now the good, long life of Ron Portugal has now come to its conclusion. With Job we cry out, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehishim Adonai Mevarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken. Blessed be the name of the eternal God. And so, O God, into your care we entrust the spirit of Ronald Portugal. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. O God, sustain all of us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead for us, so that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, will be with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You, O God, are the light of our lives and our hope in eternity. Please now rise, if it's comfortable for you to do so, for the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bam Romim, Hamatzei Minucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezoha Harakia Masirim, Et Nishmat Rachmei Omer Ben Yason, Shahalach La'olamo, Baharachamim Yasirechu, Beseter Kinafav La'olamim, V'yitzur b'tzur ha'chaim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom, al mishkavo, v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence with the holy and the pure who glow like the light of the heavens to Ronald Portugal, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence and within the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And we say, Amen. You may be seated. It is customary to put earth from the land of Israel, this from Har Hazetim, from the Mount of Olives, in the grave of a Jew. It is symbolic, among other things, but truly of the enduring Jewish hope in a better future for all of humanity. Al Mikumo Yabo B'Shalom. May Ron Portugal come to his eternal home, B'Shalom, in peace. Amen. In a moment, we will recite Mourner's Kaddish. And following Mourner's Kaddish, I'll ask those of you who are here to support the actual mourners to repeat traditional words of comfort after me. That comes after Mourner's Kaddish. And then, as we discussed yesterday when I met with the family, it is customary to put 3 measurefuls of earth into the grave of a loved one. And so you'll have an opportunity to do that. The pails are there, and when you're finished with it, it's also customary to put the trowel or the shovel back into the earth for the next person to take as an affirmative act for herself or himself. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love that is stronger than death. Though we cry in our hearts, may we be like children who know that their ultimate parent, you, O God, is near, and who cling unafraid to your trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us into your keeping, as we now rise to recite the hallowed words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabam ve'alma divra chirutei v'amlich machutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivarach la'olam ulamei amayam. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitdaleh, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudashah, Barichu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbichata v'nechamata, Da'amiran be'ama b'meru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. O se shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Now please, those of you who are here to mourn, but also to support the mourners themselves, please repeat these words after me. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom yenechem etchem b'toshav Zion v'Yerushalayim. Now go forth in peace unto life. Amen. Okay, so family, come forward first. Come over here. Just watch your step, please. Folks are welcome to come to this side as well.
That was a beautiful, it's a beautiful story.
A couple announcements as the family and guests complete the burial. For those of you watching online, we want to thank you for attending today. We also want to make sure everyone is aware, whether they're in person or online, the family will be receiving calls of condolence today at the Kaufman residence, 1217 Laraway Drive in Buffalo Grove, where they will sit upon return from the cemetery until 5. And now they are additionally sitting 7 p.m. until 9 p.m., which is not in your service folder, but they will be receiving guests today until 5 and then resuming from 7 to 9. For those of you in attendance today that are not immediate members of the family, please take a moment and sign the register book that's underneath the tent. And also I want to let you know we have water available. If anybody would like water, just let me know. I'll be happy to assist. For those of you watching online, we will be concluding and terminating the live stream feed in the next several minutes. Thank you.